All right, my name is Thomas Joren Nielsen. My profession is a composer and sound designer, and I am based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Thomas, what's your education background? Did you go to school specifically for what you do, or did you kind of learn while working?
Sure, yeah. So my background, it's interesting. I kind of went the other way. I was never good at school. Like it never clicked with me. I mean, in high school, I was getting like C's and D's constantly and really trying hard. And, I think that goes along with having a little bit of ADHD and whatever. But I just knew that typical like college just wasn't going to work for me. And truthfully, though, growing up, my dad is a keyboard player, piano player, really amazing genius. And, growing up, it was like every weekend, it was like, we're going to go to some gig and it's either like a wedding or some like bar or whatever. And it was like, I was helping him set up. And as soon as I could like pick up and carry keyboards, like, come on, throw it in the car. Like, we're going to go set this stuff up. So I was always like immersed in that. And he actually, it's in Minnesota, the music culture here, it's all like funk and jazz. And so like being around like Dakota Jazz Club and a lot of like funk musicians, growing up, it was really cool to be immersed in that kind of culture. But as far as, later on, it was like, okay, this is what I want to do. I'm going to go figure this out. So, after I finished high school, I was like, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of Minnesota. I got to go to Los Angeles. And, that's what I did. I moved there and I just said yes to everything for a very long time. Like I was just trying to figure out how can I make money at this? How can I pay my rent? And how can I start doing this thing? And at a young age, I think that's the perfect time to do it. Is like you're 20 or whatever. It's like go try to do what you think you want to do. And so it was a lot of just like boots on the ground, meeting people out there, saying yes to everything. Like, dude, I was the boom guy for a while, and I decided that's not what I want to do. I don't want to do that. But music had always been something that, I always wanted to explore, and eventually I got into doing music videos, like post-production sound for music videos, just by meeting people out there in LA. And over time, it was like some of those people went on to do like commercials. And so then I started doing commercials with them. And then some of them started to do films. And then I was doing the films with them. So it was like this path of working with people, the same people, having a good reputation as far as like quality. And but my whole thing, I will say this, my whole thing is ever since I was 16, I wanted to do movie trailers. I'm not sure why I was so obsessed with wanting to do the music for movie trailers, but it was like you go to the theater as a kid and you see the trailers and it was like, wow, this is so cool. This is like a full movie in 2 minutes or whatever. And it's super high energy or really dramatic or sad or whatever. And it was like really interesting to me. And so I always had this idea in the back of my head. I really want to do movie trailers. And, I would talk to people. I'm like, I'm going to go to LA. I'm going to do movie trailers. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, you're not going to do that. I'd heard several times. It's like, I don't know if you're going to be able to break into that. And truthfully, honestly, I just told everybody that I did them when I was there. And eventually somebody was like, you do movie trailers, right? I was like, yes, I do. And I had never really done one in my life. But it worked out. And I did some music for it, and it turned out to be a really big show on Hulu. And then, that client kept coming back to me, and we built like kind of this groove that we were going on for a while. And before I knew it, I had like 20 or 30 trailers that I had done, and kind of proved to myself that I understand what trailers are. I know how the industry works. I get, all the things that you learn behind the scenes from that, like the business, the sync stuff, all the licensing mechanics that have to go on. And I will just say though, too, you doing this, whatever it is, if you're in any kind of like production, for like post-production or just production or doing commercials or anything with media or entertainment, it's like you really got to advocate for yourself and learn when to say no. And it took me years to figure out how to say no. And, you know, going through that process of like working very, very hard and then burning out and doing that a couple of times, you start to realize, okay, you need some balance. And the most important thing actually isn't your work. There's many other areas of life that are more important than what you do. And so becoming like obsessed with that, you kind of have to be a little bit delusional and kind of go after the big things. But along the way, you learn kind of what's really important. So that was a long answer, but yeah.
No, that was a great answer. Thank you. So I have a couple follow-ups from that. The first, you had mentioned that that you just kind of jumped into the pool and started working, and then you were able to get more work from that. And you had mentioned that quality of work was important. What do you think about like personality traits? How important was that in order to maybe like some specific traits that you thought that you had that helped you to continue to work with the team that first hired you?
That's a really great question. But you know, always having a great attitude actually goes a very long way. And just saying yes, and don't be a complainer, you know, like do the work. And, you know, there have been a lot of things where it's like you work really hard and you might not get paid. And that was like early on, right? Trying to like just get your foot in the door, get your toe in the door, like just try to figure out how to actually do this stuff. So if you go in with all these like high expectations and like it's all about you, it's like, dude, nobody's gonna want to work with you. Like, just be cool, be chill. And the other thing I realize is like, if it's like an artist or a brand or a director, or like whoever, it's like, dude, let them have like all the glory. Like they're like, that's cool for them. Let them do that, and you can just be a part of it. And it turns out that it's like over time, if you are just cool and you have a good attitude and you deliver really high quality stuff, it's like people will come back, right? And also along with that, it's like you can build your credit list and you can start to like charge a competitive rate. You can start to look like you actually know what you're doing. Cause, you know, even today, it's like I struggle with, it's like, yes, my credits are crazy, but it's like I wake up and I have like imposter syndrome. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how I ended up here or whatever, but absolutely having a good attitude and being like respectful and that kind of thing. But then also realizing too that, hey man, not everybody's going to be your friend, even though they might seem friendly. So you got to watch out for that too. And you start to learn how people work and knowing what the questions are to ask in certain situations to give you more insight and knowledge and information into what the delivery might be or like what's actually expected from you. Just, yeah, having a good attitude goes a really long way over time. So.
Tell me about when you decided that it's okay to say no, and what were some metrics that you used that this project was right for me or maybe not right for me?
Absolutely, yeah. So I mean, with everything, even to this day, it's like I might get hit up. I mean, even today, I got 3 text messages, a phone call, whatever. There's always something kind of going on, and you know, I'm genuinely usually very down to help with whatever it is that. You know, whatever this idea might be. But learning when to say no, it's definitely, for me right now, it's more about the deadline and more about the timeline than anything else. Because like the rate is one thing, but over time that kind of balances out. It's just like the nature of it. So for me right now, it's definitely more about the timeline than anything else. But couple years ago, whatever, it was just, I would be saying yes to everything, stacking up. It was cool. It was like, I'd be doing these really big, really cool projects and I wanted to do them and I wanted to say yes. And I wanted to work on them to prove to myself or whatever, that it's like, I can do this. I am doing this, whatever. But that just leads to burnout because you can only go so fast for so long. And so that kind of taught me how to say no. And then I will say too, it's like, I will suss things out. I will get on the phone with the producer. I'll get on the phone with the director, with the production company, whoever. We'll have a meeting. Like, I want as much information as possible going into something before I completely agree to it. I'm always open to chatting about it. I'm always open to like figuring out the details, because a lot of times it's like I'm the one that actually knows what needs to happen with the sound, with the music, with the audio, with the final delivery. A lot of times they just don't know. That's not their area of expertise. They come into it from that side of like, they're on set. All the director does is direct all day. Maybe he doesn't even care about the editing. Maybe he just has a really great editor. So it's like, this whole conversation of sound might not even matter to them. Or they're really, really involved, which I like working with those people that are like very, hands-on, and they have this idea, and it's like, okay, let's bring this really cool idea to life. And so, yeah, just trying to figure out mostly what's expected, and seeing if that matches their initial rate. And if it does, great. And if it doesn't, I'll explain to them like why this is this or whatever. But yeah, I think initially saying no was just over time burning out and learning how to say no. And now it's more about like the balance and timelines and deadlines and things like that. So
did you have a mentor that originally kind of pushed you into the film industry?
It's interesting. Yeah. So there's this company out here called Minnetonka Audio. And you can look them up, but they were purchased by a company called Telos Alliance a couple years ago. So now it's Telos, and Telos does like a lot of, they make a lot of hardware for like radio and broadcast stuff. And like, I think some of their technology gets used for the Olympics and sports games, all like production stuff that's live. So I had gotten a job there when I was like 19, because this is a crazy story, but I found this guy's wallet in Minneapolis, and I like looked at it and I opened it up and I was like, okay, I got to give this back to this guy, Steve. And so I called him that night. Again, I'm like 19. It's like 2:00 in the morning. It's February. It's cold outside. And I was like, hey, man, I think I have your wallet. And so I drove it over to him in the middle of the night. It's a wild thing to do, but we became friends, and it turns out he worked at this company called Minnetonka Audio, and it's actually a really, really cool company, and with some really badass people. And at the time, they had only like the amount of employees was like 8 people, and then they had some people in Germany or something. But the thing about the 8 people that work there is they're all like industry vets for software programming for audio, and their credit list of applications and audio implementation for like major things is crazy. So I was like, I want to become best friends with this guy, because I'm 19 or whatever. I don't know what I'm doing with it, but I know that like I don't want to go to school. So worked there, and it turns out that somebody else who worked there, they ran a company called Hitlist Music, and Hitlist Music, again, their credit list is insane. Of course, crazy, right? Out of Minnetonka, Minnesota. You wouldn't think, but they, I think they did the Taco Bell gong, like they made the original gong for Taco Bell. But in the early 90s, they did a bunch of stuff for Target, and they're still doing like a lot of really big commercials and things like that for music today. So I wanted to become friends with them as well as my buddy Steve. So Steve and Jim, I wouldn't say they necessarily like taught me the ropes of anything, but it was like, as a kid, you're 19, it was really cool to meet these older dudes who like kind of built a really cool career for themselves. And they're older, and it's like just hanging out with them, learning as much as I can, and just being in that world of like, wow, this is something that I can do in one way or another. Maybe it is software, or maybe it is audio software or whatever, but I knew in the back of my mind, I'm like, I want to get out to LA at some point. So that was kind of like my kind of a way of getting into it. But as far as like what I do now, it's just years of like meeting people and giving them what they need and figuring things out. But I think it's a really good thing to have, is having a really solid mentor and somebody you can bounce ideas off of and learn from. Absolutely. I mean, I'm still learning things every day, you know?
Sweet. You have major credits with producing audio, composing music, and sound design. When you were getting started, what did you first focus on? Was it audio producing, composing, or sound design?
Absolutely. So when I was first getting started, we'll just push to LA. When I was first getting started, it was, you know, I had this idea that I'm going to go out to LA, I'm going to produce records, I'm going to go be a trailer composer. And it's not that easy, you know, to just say that I'm going to be writing songs for whoever. And, you know, now I know a lot of songwriters, that's what they do. They write songs and they're incredible at that. But kind of figuring out what I'm good at along the way was important. And sound design was kind of my initial start. And it was mostly because I had met some directors out there and they were doing these really cool big music videos. And I think a lot of people that get started in this, they start in music videos. It's a really common thing that directors, producers, editors, sound designers, VFX people, the whole crew, production people, they start in music videos, or sometimes it could be like a local church. A lot of people start in churches just because there is like audio or production stuff happening in those places. But for me, I had met these directors and they would send me a video and be like, hey, can you put a car here, put like a whatever here? And I will say at the time, it's like I had no idea what I was doing, but maybe like, you know, some of these directors didn't really know what they were doing either. So I was like kind of coming up with people around my age in a way, and being able to learn sound design and really focus in on that and hone that skill has been something that has been like not only fruitful, but has brought me more clients over time. And at the same time too, like I had done the music videos for a while and I was still trying to figure out like what else I want to do, because I wasn't technically producing music, right? I was doing all the sound design stuff. I just, like I said, I had this goal of doing movie trailers, music for movie trailers. And so I spent a very years, like 2 or 3 years, like learning how to program very realistic orchestral compositions. And that led to me like kind of putting together some ideas to push to different libraries and things like that. But my big break, I mean, I'll just skip ahead a little bit, but my big break technically was I had a friend who was a songwriter who knew a producer, and he was looking for somebody to help organize his music library, producer, editor. And I called him because I got his number and I said, you know, it was like 5,000 songs he wanted organized. I called him and I was like, hey man, I don't want to organize your library. I don't want to do that at all, but I'm the best damn composer you're ever going to meet. And, you know, the call lasted like 2 minutes. He's like, all right, man. All right, dude, whatever. And he's like an industry vet. You know, he's been editing and producing movie trailers for like 30 years. But 6 months later, I didn't hear from him. 6 months later, he texted me. He's like, hey, man, can you try throwing something on this edit? And I did, and he really liked it. And apparently the client liked it too because we landed it. And so that was kind of like, okay, now we're really pushing on this. And then I went into sixth gear on that, and I was like, anything that they needed, I was like, I'm the guy for it. And so there's a lot of like staying up all night for years and turning out 2.5, 3 minutes of really highly produced trailer music within a night, and just like kind of proving to myself that I can do that. So I skipped ahead a little bit there, but initially got started in sound design, but knew I wanted to do music for movie trailers and kind of got into that. But now I'm still I do a lot of sound design still, and custom music is something that I still provide, but I'm much more specific about who I'm going to be working with that. So
what is the relationship between sound design, composing, and producing? Are they distinct skill sets, or is there a lot of crossover?
I mean, there's so much crossover. Which I think is great too, because like it's like sometimes I might receive a project and I'm like, man, I could really make this music better or whatever. But it's like, that's not my area for this. The client loves it. The director loves it. Whatever. I don't care. And so kind of having that separation of them is good. You got to think like, okay, I'm here to do this specific thing for this project. And then there's times too where it's like, I may have done the music for a project and then I go back and listen to the final that got approved and it's sent out, and it's being pushed everywhere online or broadcast, and the mix, I'm like, man, this mix is terrible. I don't even want to post this because it's so bad. But the music's great or whatever. So I really, really like it when I'm doing all of the music and the sound design and the dialogue mixing and the Foley, and just having like the top down look, because then I know it's like I'm in control of everything. I have the ability to like maneuver all these things. But as far as the crossovers go, yeah, I mean, it's mixing and getting things in place. There's similarities, but there's times where it's like what's on screen. I'm going to relate a lot of it to what's on screen, because that's mostly what I work with is media that's on screen. But knowing when to push dialogue and pull back music or do the opposite and kind of balance those elements. There might be some times where I've worked on a track for a spot and I spent, a lot of time on it, and it's like, it would be great to mute it actually in this one section and just have the sound design take over, whatever. So separating yourself from the final product, and music is very subjective. It's very emotional. It's very personal, whatever. But sometimes none of that stuff even matters, So having the perspective, I think, is helpful to keep things moving and push along.
That must be really hard to pull back when you hear something that you'd want to make a change to. Do you ever suggest that to the director, or do you just the rule of thumb is like, nope, this is my lane, I'm going to stay in it?
If I'm friendly with the director, if we text and we call and we're homies or whatever, yeah, I'll definitely suggest it. But it's like, if it's like my first time with a client, or it's just, we got no time, there's no timeline for this, or, sometimes it's like, hey, I'm not even getting paid for that part of what they're paying me for, so I don't really care. Yeah. But, I want to be proud of the things that are out in the world with that I had something to do with. So I'll always try to give some suggestions if the window of opportunity is there for that. Absolutely.
When you're doing sound design, do you primarily reach for pre-made libraries, or do you ever create sound effects on your own?
It's a great question, and I have them all. I have all the libraries you could think of, the Boom library, and I have hard drives full of sounds, which is great because being able to temp things in and just work quickly. If I can do that and kind of put together this full product, within a couple days or a day or whatever, that's where having libraries is great. But there's definitely times when it's easier to just get some field mics and go out and just record. And it's more fun too. You get out, you get to go make some sounds, you can layer them in with library stuff. I kind of relate it in a way to am I going to pull a loop off of Splice, or am I going to actually use a piano to come up with something? Kind of the same, but not really. But that's a great question. And I would just say that whatever it needs, we'll make sure that we get it in there. And it was cool. I had finished a short film that ended up in Tribeca, which is kind of a big deal, Tribeca Film Fest. And a lot of I had kind of pieced it together with a lot of library stuff and original recordings and stuff, but it takes place in New York. And I let the director know, I'm like, hey, we're going to piece this together, but I'm going to fly out there and we're going to do field recording for a month. And we're just going to get a bunch of really cool New York stuff, get that New York wind that it's hard to kind of make things realistic sometimes with libraries. And sometimes all you need is just a great mic and the right source material, and you put it in and you're like, dude, I didn't even put an EQ on that and it sounds great. So, yeah.
Brilliant. What is the process? Maybe take me through the process, kind of outline the process of scoring a film trailer?
Oh man, yeah, it's different every time. I will say that. There's a few different ways that it goes, but one thing that I learned early on was that you might not have any information in front of you as far as like picture information. You might be the guy or the girl or whoever to actually put something together that they're going to listen to, or the editor is going to put in, or the team of people producing the trailer are going to be working with. So it's like, there's briefs sometimes where it's like you look at the brief and you try to compose like based off a brief, which if you don't know a brief, I'm sure you do, but if people don't know a brief, it's just like, it's very like bullet point. What do they need for the music? What do they want? Like, what are they thinking? What are their ideas? And they might send that to a lot of people. They might send that to, 50 music libraries or something. They're looking for something. They don't care how much it costs, who's involved, whatever. They just need the perfect track for their trailer. So there's that side of it, which I never really got into doing the brief work. I tried here and there, but I kind of realized I'm like, okay, this is a great like practice for me. This is a great way to like hone my skill, whatever. But I don't think I'd ever really landed. I never landed a movie trailer for sure based off a brief. That never happened. I have landed some things in commercials and broadcast TV where it's just like background music with brief writing, but the where I got the in was doing customized music for movie trailers. So, talking to the people, understanding what their ideas, and then they might have like half a trailer cut, or they might have, they might be using a really famous song, like some Pink Floyd record or Michael Jackson or whatever. And I might go in and try to emphasize that and make it feel cinematic with strings and sweeping orchestral things or whatever, to kind of customize what they already have going on. And there'd be times too, it's like, hey, you're the guy, right? It's like, yeah, I'm the guy. And, they might have cut in temp music, and I might just use that temp music just for tempo, just for okay, this is what they like. This is how the trailer's cut. I'm going to go ahead and just mute that and write something completely new in that tempo. But yeah, it's been different every time. I will say too, though, with trailers, it's similar to a song, right? It's a mini movie. You have an intro, you have a middle, you have a climax, a second climax, and like a song, it's like you have an intro, a verse, a pre-chorus, a hook, a bridge, and then an outro, right? So there's similarities to how the actual arc of a trailer is and the actual arc of a song is, but the actual process of building it out, it's a lot of just like, hey, I made this, you send it to them. If they like it, you better keep working on it because we have 2 days or whatever. I mean, there'd been times where it's like, I wrote something 6 months ago, never heard anything, and then 6 months later, I get a text like, hey, congrats, like this came out. It's like, oh, wow, that's pretty crazy. And then there'd been times where it's like, hey, we have a trailer coming out on Thursday. We need new music for the first minute by tonight. So there's that too. And then it would come out and it'd be Lionsgate or whatever. So yeah, just being available for any situation and just telling them that whatever you guys want to do, I can do that, Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great perspective, a great attitude for that. Where do you draw your inspiration from?
Honestly, I listen to a lot of music and I watch a lot of movies. And when I find things that are really cool, I'll just watch them over and over again or listen to them over and over. I get really hyper analytical with things and I will try to study them and learn them. And if I happen to potentially do anything 10% as cool as that idea, I'm like, oh, that's cool. So I think drawing inspiration from everywhere. This is going to sound like whatever, but there's times where it's like, dude, I'll go outside and I'm listening to everything. Like that part of my brain just like doesn't turn off. I'll be in a coffee shop. I'm like, this would be great for like background coffee shop vibe on the screen or whatever. So I think, I mean, I was at a wedding like a month ago, and there's so many people at this wedding, and you know, there's 200 people talking, and it's like this. If you know what a walla is, WALLA, it's this concept of like there's a crowd of people and you can't really understand them, but it adds like the ambience that you're looking for on screen. And trying to fake that is actually, it's really difficult. So I'm at this wedding or whatever, and I'm like, this would be great. I really wish I had my mic on me right now, because I totally use this at some point. So like that type of thing where it's, dude, I'll go to the gym and people are playing basketball. It's like, wow, this court sounds great, and I will go back to that court, bring a basketball and a mic, and I'll go record and be like, yeah, this sounds great. So for sound design like that, and for music, it's like I'm always exploring and just trying to find cool things. Dude, I like dubstep, I like classical, I like all kinds of music, and so exploring every kind of world within music is a good way to go. And especially with movie trailers, that was something that I learned, is like, you know, they might need like a bossa nova groove, and then it switches into like heavy metal. It's like, how in the hell am I gonna put that together? And then it's got to be in the same key and kind of almost the same tempo. What? So that was a good learning experience for me, is like these expectations are really high, and being able to produce like really, really high quality music in a very short amount of time, you learn quickly. And it's like, dude, I just need the best libraries in front of me, and I need the things that inspire me is really quality, string libraries, choir libraries, brass, whatever, great synths, great sounds. And the thing is today too, it's like, if you got $5,000 and you can buy a MacBook, you're on, like you're in there. And this is kind of I don't know, this is a completely separate thing, but 10, 15 years ago, a big commercial, the total budget could easily be like over $1 million for a big TV broadcast spot. And now today, that same broadcast TV spot might be like $350K total, all in. So that's like a pretty big chop to that budget. But at the same time too, back then, I wasn't working professionally then. I was, in high school or whatever, 15 years ago. So, but back then it was like, yes, there was production facilities, there was post-production offices. There's still some in LA and New York and things like that, but not as much as there was. And so that overhead is significantly reduced, because the tools that you need is like, you just need a couple grand and your skills and a solid workstation and, some good headphones, and you're on your way. So anyway, that's a completely different topic. And yeah.
Yeah, I remember I number of years ago, dozen years ago, I went to LA and I purchased a Neve console, big 32-channel console, and it was in a post-production facility. Every room had a keyboard, like a little workstation, that sort of thing, and then the garage they had turned into this nice. I mean, it looked gorgeous, and he had this big Neve console, and I just remember seeing that he had a big Mac tower and he had labeled which VST was loaded. So each VST had a dedicated computer. He must have had 20 frickin' computers just to run these VSTs.
Right.
It was insane. Yeah.
And now it would be like, they'd have to print to tape, and then you'd have to bring the tape to the client and then put the tape in the machine and then show the client in the actual office. It's like, what are we doing right now? It's like we're both on laptops probably. So
it's crazy.
It's completely different. Yeah.
Do you ever work outside of the film industry? I know we've been interviewed some composers for gaming. Have you ever tried working in the gaming world, or is just a whole different set of circles?
It's a different set of circles, absolutely. I would love to do that. I mean, that's something that I think too is like, you have to really immerse yourself in that field. It's a very specific field. I know there's like specific engines that you have to be very familiar with within gaming specifically. I think there's like Wise Engine and Fmod are two where you kind of have to be very fluent in those. So it's a little bit more programming as far as that goes. But I mean, some of my favorite music are video game scores. Like you talk about like Halo. It's like, oh my gosh, that is one of the best scores of all time. So, you know, I think in the future, at some point, if it turned into something, I would meet those people and potentially whatever. That would be like a dream come true. But for now, definitely commercials, trailers, and films where I can get some additional music placed in, or I get hired on as the full composer. You know, you take your opportunities where you can get them.
Yeah.
But like I said too, it's like you never know. It's like somebody could eventually, if they go on to become, you know, now they don't want to do movies anymore. They want to make a video game, and apparently you're the guy that knows how to do sound or whatever, so they'll hit you up. So, yeah. But it's interesting though. You meet some people. I was working on a trailer some time ago, and I had somebody gave me a recommendation for a vocalist. I needed like a power vocal, just like a big power vocal on top of this, you know, trailerization of I can't remember if it was the Star Spangled Banner or something, but it was something specific. And so I get this guy's number, and he sends me his information. I look him up. I'm like, oh, dude, you were in the original Halo choir? Like, that's crazy. Like, I got to meet this guy and work with him on a project. So there's little things that connect people, you know, across industries. But doing a full video game, it would be incredible. I know it would take a year plus, and a lot of, you know, working with teams of people, which I love working with teams of people on things. I think it's much more fun to be working with people in person than to be, you know, kind of holed up in post-production land by yourself and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, it's crazy. Interesting experience in LA. I interviewed a composer, and they had a house and a garage, and they transformed the garage into a recording studio, and they put a wall right down the middle. And she worked on one side, and she just won like the first Grammy for video game scoring, right?
Oh, sweet.
And then her husband works for Hans Zimmer, and he does more rock stuff. And so they're two composers, but they work in parallel with each other in this garage.
Cool.
It's crazy in the music industry. In that circumstance, I walked in there and I immediately knew that she was like 10 times smarter than I was. Like, and normally I look around and see rock bands. I'm like, you know, well, okay, you know, not the sharpest knives here, but this girl was so talented and so, I mean, just like you could just tell the cream went right to the top with her, and she was just so talented.
Awesome. And I would love to.
It was cool.
Send me your info. I'd love to check her out. Absolutely.
Do you primarily mix on headphones with your laptop, mobile, or are you using near field monitors?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's a great question. I trust these things. I really, really have depended on them for many occasions. But, you know, with everything, it's like, yes, you need great monitors, you need great headphones, but at the end of the day, too, it's like, where's this delivery going to go? Is it going to be mostly on social media? Is it going to be mostly on broadcast TV? Is it going to be a movie theater release? Is it going to be whatever? So I am thinking about all those things going in, but I will say like 70% of the time I'm really depending on headphones. And I'm checking on my monitors. I'm checking on my laptop speakers. I'm checking on, I got old Apple headphones that just sound terrible. Checking on those. I'll pull something up and play it off like my TV speaker. I'll bring it out to the car, which seems insane, but it's like, and it might just be like a 45-second commercial, you know, but I'm crazy. And like, I have to go and like, I have to listen to it everywhere and make sure that like, it does sound great. And but I will say too is like primarily depending on these, I know and I understand them, and I get how they will translate because I've been using them for like 2 or 3 years. I depend on them, and I really know what they're going to sound like in the end. So I think just understanding whatever your monitoring playback is, if you understand how that's going to translate on different mediums and different devices and different speakers and things like that. That'll get you far. But having a dependable pair of a monitoring system that you really understand and you know how that's going to relate to everything else, that's everything, right? It's like, that's why people spend 50 grand on monitors or whatever, because they know they're going to sound great or whatever. So I've been impressed by these, honestly. And I've been using them and they sound great. And I've been in scenarios and situations where I'm like, I'm not in front of my workspace. I'm out in some other city or whatever. And I have to, like, dude, I got a final mix to deliver tonight. I got to go. I got to do this right now. And so having a really, really solid pair of headphones has been life-changing for me, because I don't have to be in a professionally soundproofed room or, things like that. So
thanks for the commercial. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, dude.
I'll send you the check.
Please.
If you could score that too, that would be great.
Yeah.
Last question. What tips do you have for someone wanting to get into the business, to score film trailers?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I would say have a really, really solid understanding of your skill set and hone in on it, because they might just want to come to you because of your sound, right? So having a library of music to show is one thing, but having a very specific style is another. And really just having, if you can eventually meet somebody in the trailer world, you should just ask them as many questions as you can and try to become familiar with how the actual business works, how things operate. Because at the end of the day, it's like a lot of these trailer production houses, they're in Los Angeles. They're all in the same block. There's 10 of them, and they're all right on the same block. And they're all competing for the trailer, right? So it's funny. It's a very competitive industry. Movie trailers, it's one of the most competitive things I've ever been involved in, which teaches you a lot, like getting into it. But also too is like your skills and if it's music that you're doing is really valuable, and you have to know what that value is, and that could be your in is just having like the perfect track, right? It's like having the perfect song. That could be, but I will say too, if you were to ask me, or if I was to tell myself, 6, 7, 8 years ago how to do this, I would say find out who the editors are and try to get really close with the editors, because at the end of the day, they're editing and they're cutting trailers all day. They're editing trailers all damn day. So your chances of actually landing one and actually like getting in the door and then coming back to you kind of depends on the editor. Sometimes it depends on the director, but the thing with films too is like the director directed the movie. The movie is not the trailer. It's not. The trailer is to sell the movie. It is a separate medium. It is a separate thing. I mean, how many times do you go to the movies or you see a trailer and then you watch the movie and you're like, that had nothing to do with the trailer at all. So it's this completely separate game. And it's like, if you want to get into films, go after films. If you want to get into commercials, go after commercials. If you want to get into whatever, you can do it. You just have to go after it and know who to go after, and not go after, but know who to kind of meet and explore. And the editors are your best friends in trailers, absolutely. Because if they make a great cut to your great song, everybody else is going to think it's great. And at the same time, too, you could send them a perfect track, but unless it works with the cut, it doesn't really matter. So, yeah.
So it's about building a unique skill set, and building those relationships, and really honing in on the skills, maybe that create a unique style. That's a great answer.
Yeah. It's very niche, but that's where your power is too, is like, if you really, if you have a tone or you're really good at that one thing that they might need, then you'll be in the door, man, because they're looking for that. They don't want to be worried about this thing. They want to know that, hey, you got this, right? We don't have to. That's the other thing. Nobody's holding your hand, man, and I don't want to hold anybody's hand. And it's like, yes, you can have questions and you can be exploring and things, but at the end of the day, it's like you got to be kind of like your own boss in a way and kind of advocate for yourself and be a badass, because that's what people want. They want to know that they're coming to you in confidence, right? So yeah, cool. All right, well, yo, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much
for reaching out initially. It's cool.
Yeah,
it's very, very cool. So it's
I
great
love
to
it.
meet you guys.
Yep, for sure. All right, you have a great afternoon.
All right, you too. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.